Hello and welcome to this SIAMS update for our schools. This is just a really quick video to outline some of the updates that have come with the new SIAMS schedule and just to give you a really brief overview of some of the key points that we've drawn out to really support you and your school. Feel free to use this in staff meetings or governor body meetings, whatever is helpful. But if you've got any questions, do get in touch with me and I will try and answer them. So here we are, SIAMS update for schools. The first update that I want to give you is that earlier on in February, the Church of England National SIAMS team released an updated list of all schools that are going to be likely to be inspected this academic year. It can be found on the Church of England website, and I will put a link under this video to go with that. All the schools affected, those that are still on the list and those that have been removed, have all been informed, and the schools that have been taken off this list will be added to the list for the next academic year. I'm sure you can understand there's a huge backlog since COVID and since lockdown, and coupled with a reduced number of inspectors for many reasons, we aren't getting through the inspections as we hoped. So the national team have reflected on that. They've looked at what is practical, what is likely, and therefore have updated the list for this academic year. It is now smaller, and there are several schools who are now going to be put on next year's list. A new list for the following academic year, 23-24, will be released in July. And as soon as we've got that list, we will get in contact with all the schools that are affected by the changes and the new list. If you've not had an email from me, don't panic. That means that you're not on the list and you haven't been affected. The new SIAMS Framework 2023 goes under this tagline: radically different, radically the same. The essence of SIAMS has not changed. The content within it has not changed. What has changed is the process of inspection and gathering evidence. Yes, the structure might look different, and we'll explore that in a moment, but actually in terms of all that you have been doing to be an effective Church of England school, that is not changing. And we're going to go through the main changes and the impact it might have on you as a school. But really want to say is, don't panic, don't worry. If you are an effective Church of England school where all you are doing is driven by your vision to have an impact on all, then keep doing that. You're doing the right thing. This has not changed under the new framework. Really, to sum it up, it's just a change of view. You might have heard in the last week or so that lilt is now no longer going to be made. However, we are going to have tropical Fanta. So it's the same drink in a different bottle and packaged differently. So that is really what we're saying about SIAMS. The old schedule and then the new framework, it's really just the same, just different packaging. So the old one was like lilt and the new one is like tropical Fanta. So just think of it like that. Same content, just different wrapper. I'm now just going to outline the main changes that we feel you need to be aware of as you start to think and get your head around this new framework. The first one is the overarching question that used to feature in the 2018 schedule. It's there. How does the school's distinctive vision, established and promoted by leaders at all levels, enabling pupils and adults to flourish? That used to be the main question that Inspector was trying to answer through the inspection day and process. However, this question is not there now, but it is. It's weaved through all of the inspection questions that are called IQs. However, what's going to happen now is there are three main questions or sections to the inspection. The first one is, who are we? This one will be the main conversation you have with the inspector on the phone call before the inspection day. And it's to help them understand your context, who you are and what you are about really as a school. There's more guidance on this in the documents that have been produced by the National SIAMS team. The second section is, what are you doing here? And this is your chance to share the provision that you have in place and all that you are doing to enable your pupils and adults to flourish. This section does form part of the main evidence gathering and will help the inspector to inform their judgment. The third section is how then shall we live and learn together? And this really is going to be the main driver for the inspection day itself. How are pupils and adults living well and learning together? What is the school doing because of their vision to enable that to happen? Sitting under that are 6 or 7, if you're voluntary aided, IQs, inspection questions that sit under this section. And really the inspection day is going to be a day of discussion and robust questioning to find out all that is going on in your school to enable pupils and adults to flourish. On this slide are the inspection questions, or the first 4 anyway, that an inspector will ask to explore how are pupils and adults living and learning together. Underneath each inspection question, there are further questions that will be explored during the inspection process. You can find all of these in the framework document. These are the last 3 inspection questions. You'll notice the one in the turquoise at the bottom, IQ 7, is for voluntary aided schools only, and that looks at the quality of teaching of learning and progress in RE. The second main change is about your context. Context has always been important in all of the schedules. However, in this framework, it is key because your context shapes your theologically rooted vision and the provision that you put in place to enable all to live well and learn together. You'll see my diagram there where you'll see that the context shapes the vision and drives the provision to ensure that there is impact so that all can flourish and live well together. Your provision is going to be dependent on your context. So being really clear about who you are and what is important for your school needs to be explored before putting in your provision and then evaluating it. You will have the opportunity to describe your journey and how it's going and what is going well. And that journey is going to be unique to your context and to your school. You may have already noticed that the new framework does not put out a list of criteria. It does not say this is what effective church school education looks like, because what they're saying is it's up to your context and all that you are doing for your pupils. You are then free to choose what is right for your context. Basically, if it's working and having an impact, carry on. If it's not, change it and do something different. Impact is key. What is the impact? Is it enabling your pupils and adults to flourish and live well together? The third big change is the emphasis on your vision being theologically rooted. The IQ question there says, how does the school's theologically rooted Christian vision enable pupils and adults to flourish? Now, I know that many of you have worked really hard on establishing a distinctively Christian rooted vision. However, some of them are not theologically rooted deep enough, and that theological rootedness cannot be articulated by all. Now, this might feel like there's no change. This is what we're doing. But actually, when we unpick it and when we discuss it, actually, I think you'll see that there is a bit of a difference. So we are going to be doing training on this. We are going to be supporting you with making sure that your vision is theologically rooted and what that actually means. But fundamentally, it means what is the biblical story that roots your vision, and how does that fit within the big story of the Bible? For example, do you really understand where that Bible passage comes from? What's the context of it? Who wrote it? Who is it written for? And how does that shape and speak into all we are doing as a school? I'm not saying that your visions and your Bible verses aren't good enough, not at all. It's just about strengthening it and making sure you are really clear about how it's rooted in the big story of the Bible and theologically. Please don't worry if you feel like you're out of your depth here or you need to call on the vicar. Everybody can do theology. It's just God talk, really, talking about how it roots it in the Bible. And really, if you are stuck and want to think carefully about it, start with the big freeze that goes with understanding Christianity. Look at, well, which concept, which part of the Bible does our passage come from? And how does it fit within the bigger, wider narrative? As I said, we will be doing training on this, so please don't panic. So just to follow on from what I've just said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Please don't watch this and think Rebecca's saying, I've got to ditch all I've got to get rid of my vision and my values. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if your vision is having an impact on the flourishing of all, it does not need changing. All that needs changing or tightening, I suppose we would say, is the theological rootedness of it, where it fits with a bigger narrative and can all articulate that. So if you've got something like let my light shine, okay, that's brilliant, but where does that come from? Where does that verse feature in the Bible? What does that actually mean for all of us in our school community? And again, we will explore that more in some training. The fourth main change is about the responsibility of trusts in the inspection process, and actually not just in the inspection process, all day, every day. How are trusts supporting schools to be effectively enabling flourishing of all? For example, there's an example there. How does being part of a trust enhance the school's curriculum? What impact is the trust having on the school day to day in being an effective church school? Again, there is going to be training for trusts and for that deeper understanding of what that means for schools. So watch this space. It will be coming. The main change, I think, and the one that's talked about the most is this one, that grades have been removed. No longer will a school be awarded good or excellent or requires improvement. They will be given a judgment. And those judgments will either be J1, judgment 1, through its vision and practice, the school is living up to its foundation as a church school and is enabling pupils and adults to flourish. Or a J2, the school's vision and practice are not enabling it to fully live up to its foundation as a church school. This is quite a radical change. I'm going to go through some myths that go with this in a moment. But let's just talk about J2. J2 that says a school is not living up to its foundation as a church school. And there are some reasons why that might not be happening. And with the inspector, the school will look at what are the reasons behind why all pupils and adults are not flourishing. And you can see them outlined there. It will be to do with the vision. It will be to do with the curriculum, maybe collective worship, or how your culture of your school is not enabling all to live well. These will, and there's more to come, will shape the areas for development and the things that the school needs to do to move on and become a more effective church school where all are flourishing. These are the last three reasons as to why you might be given a J2 judgment, to do with, again, the culture of justice and responsibility, the provision and profile of RE, and then if you are a voluntary aided school, pupils are not making progress in their RE learning. I'm just going to go through the myths that go with removal of grades. I know people are anxious about the grades going and there being judgments, and these are some myths that I just want to go through with you. The first one is, if you are given J1, that means you are completely perfect. No, it does mean you are doing a really, really, really good job. Your pupils and your adults are flourishing, you are learning and living well together. But there, of course, are going to be areas of development that you will work with the inspector to continue moving your school forward to be even more effective and to keep you going on that journey of being a fabulous church school. The second one is this. Many people look that J2 equals failed. You failed if you get given a J2. No, that does not mean that. If you are given a J2, it means there are some really specific reasons as to why your pupils and adults aren't flourishing in your church school. You know, we are thinking about being a church school, and so some of these things are fundamentally linked to that. It does not mean you have failed. It does mean you're doing some great things. It does mean that in many areas of your school, your pupils and adults are flourishing. But actually, there is something significant that is stopping that happening in all areas. So just to say, we've gone through the 6 areas as to why you might be given a J2. And there are high expectations of the National SIAMS team that you will be meeting those. However, if an inspector finds that many of those areas or all of them are not being covered or not being addressed, then that will mean that you are failing as a church school, and then there'll have to be further support put in place by the diocese and by the national team to enable you to make that progress. As a diocese, we are here to support you all the time, and that is not going to happen on our watch. We are here, Natalie and I and Quentin, to support you in all that you do, to offer training, visits, phone calls, emails, whatever it needs to enable you to be an effective church school. But if you are given a J2 judgment, please don't see it as a fail. It means there are just some areas that need to be tweaked to enable you to develop further. So just to close really and to recap, I just want to set out the importance of this high expectation that we all have for the quality of church school education in our church schools. So the SIAMS framework sets out these baselines of what it really means to be an effective church school. And you can see them listed there, and it might be that you actually want to spend time as a group unpicking those and looking at where are we on that journey to reaching that. This is the highest bar, the high expectation. Where are we on that journey? Each of these characteristics, more listed here than from the previous slide, are there to set a baseline of high expectation, and they are all linked to the IQ questions. As I said, there's no new content, nothing new that you need to be aware of, but these just set out that baseline of what it means to be an effective church school. So to close, what I want to say to you really is please don't panic. Hopefully when you read the new framework and you digest all that I've talked about so far in this video, you will see that actually SIAMS is not reimagining what it means to be a church school. That there is no new content or change in expectation of what it means to be a church school. As I've said, all that you are doing, if it's having an impact and it's driven by your vision, keep doing it. But what is changing is the process of inspection, the way of gathering evidence, and the judgments that are reached at the end rather than grades. For you on the ground, keep doing what you're doing to enable your pupils and adults to flourish and live well together. Thank you for all you're doing in your church schools. We are so grateful for your energy, your time, your commitment to every pupil and adult, and we are here to help you. So please don't panic. Get in touch if you need anything. Thank you for watching this. I hope it's helped you.